Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. We'll be talking about the overall situation as far as security is concerned. Vis-a-vis, of course, we've seen the attack on Japanese nationals in Karachi today, which resulted in 5 Japanese nationals narrowly escaping a suicide bombing attack. The ramifications of the attack also and overall as far as the security situation in Pakistan is concerned at this time, the way that our security forces are trying to ensure a secure environment overall for foreign nationals also. A little bit of that, a little later on, we'll also be talking about the Indian elections at this time as far as the BJP position is concerned and overall, of course, the way that Indian state has been gradually transforming into a Hindu state, the suppression of minorities that we are looking at under the Modi-led government. All of that today on Perspective. I have with me Lieutenant General Retired Raza Khan, who's former President NDU. Thank you so much for being with us today. We'll also have other guests during the course of the program. General Sahab, as far as this latest attack is concerned, of course, this is, Pakistan remains fully cognizant of the fact that, its security is, of course, its primary concern. Our security forces and army and, overall, our police is making every effort to ensure that there is overall peace and security in the region. In your opinion, how do you look at this attack and, the overall security situation at this time?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I think it is important to keep in mind that right now the Indian elections are happening. The situation in the Middle East is very unstable, and the nexus of the TTP, TTA, BLA, RAW, and other terrorists in Afghanistan is intact because of a number of reasons, and we could discuss all of them. And therefore, I think the security environment, generally speaking, in Pakistan and in Pakistan's neighborhood is rather alarming. And this has been so for quite some time. However, I think the government and the armed forces of Pakistan have been, through their joint and collective efforts and the support of the people of Pakistan, we have been beating the majority of the terrorist attacks wherever they are coming, mainly against the CPEC, mainly against Pakistan's economic interest, and particularly the attacks in KP, in Balochistan, and now the one in Sindh that we have seen. So I think when it comes to our response, then obviously I think we have a very elaborate national action plan which is ongoing.
I'm going to interject. Overall, as far as our responsibility, our security forces and their responsibility, again, like you said, every effort is being made to ensure that peace prevails. As far as these efforts to destabilize Pakistan is concerned, of course, we do have a neighbor, a hostile neighbor, geographically, and we know that, we're fully cognizant of that. Other than that, what are the other factors to which you attribute this increase in terrorism that you are talking about?
Well, I actually pointed out the main factors. You could add to that, I think, the inability of the government of Pakistan because of financial reasons, essentially, to enhance the capacity, the training, the equipment, and the intelligence capabilities of the provincial counter-terrorism departments and the provincial action plans. And I think that is a weak area which needs to be focused on more sharply. In that, we are aware that 3% of the National Finance Award was promised in the past to the erstwhile FATA, which are now part of KP, and I think that money needs to be released to them, at least now, because KP is a frontline state, and so is Balochistan. So these two provinces must get priority.
Let me include, General Sahab, let me include Lehaz Ali, who's a journalist from KP in this discussion also. Ji, Lehaz, can you hear me? Can you hear me? I think there's a problem with audio. General Sahab, please continue. I mean, of course, you're saying that there are certain limitations of funds, and also the fact that, you know, there is overall, as far as there are some remisses, you think, as far as the National Action Plan is concerned. There are factors that we've not been able to execute completely. Are those the reasons you're saying that may have contributed to an increase?
Well, I thought that it is the provincial action plans, the provincial counterterrorism departments, whose capacity needs to be improved. We must know, that the terrorists have acquired latest equipment and latest technology, which was left by NATO ISAF, which comprised over 37 countries, unfortunately. And also that there were hardcore terrorists who were there in prison in Afghanistan, and all of them were released. Unfortunately, the government of Afghanistan is not very serious in responding to our perpetual concerns that we have communicated to them at every possible level. And combined with this, the Indian elections, where the image of BJP as a very strong party, which is able to, somehow, ensure that Pakistani interest and Pakistan's capacity to defend itself is diminished, and which is actually committed to making sure that the CPAC does not succeed. So these are some of the factors, which the BJP is trying to sell to its own people to garner votes from them. And I think some other powers, world powers, actually they look the other way when they see that India is hurting our national security and our economic interest, as much as they concern, Pakistan's partnership in security and economic development with China. So I think these are multiple challenges which we are facing, and I think the response has to be in multiple dimensions, which includes political, diplomatic, regional, and I think we have to beat the narrative of all these terrorists. We have to beat the Indian narrative through a number of.
We're talking, you mentioned the Indian narrative, and one has to, concede that as far as narrative building is concerned, the reality of what's happening in India at this time, the kind of extremism that is at play, the kind of treatment of minorities that we are looking at as far as Modi-led India is concerned, that is the reality. But of course, as far as narrative building is concerned, as far as trying to build the kind of secular India that we've seen, the efforts that Modi has made in trying to build that image of India, do you think that there is now, a chink in the armor? You think that it's that image has suffered a blow now, or no?
Well, that image may have suffered internationally. And as far as the international community is concerned, I think they are aware that secular India has really been demolished by BJP and Modi, and India is now a true fundamentalist religious state. But they are not bothered about that. Actually, this change in stance is paradoxically, getting more votes for BJP and its allies. And unfortunately, the opposition parties of India, there are about 2 dozen opposition parties. The agenda on which they are working actually flows out from logic, from economic development of India, from the welfare of the minorities and all that. But, the Indian voters are not very responsive to this. And they're more responsive, to emotional kind of motives and religious motives, which the BJP is using, as part of their election campaign. Although, this kind of approach, even if Modi wins, and I think surveys have shown that he is likely to win, it is not
General
going to
Sab,
take India
let me
any.
include Lehaz Ali now. I think he can hear us. Ji, Lehaz, can you hear me now?
Yes, I'm getting you.
Lehaz, we're talking about the challenges that Pakistan faces on the security front, and also the latest attack that we've seen, and also, of course, the terrorism that continuously spews from across the border as far as India is concerned. In your opinion, the image of India as a secular state, General Saab was just saying that it has suffered internationally. Do you think that that's a reality now? Do you think that India is now not being seen so much as a secular, all religion loving state? The kind of image that it was trying to perpetuate earlier on has taken a considerable blow.
One cannot mention, here I will mention the Indian involvement in Afghanistan from the last 20 years, I will say, and before that as well, that were preparing the conspiracies on the western border of the Pakistan. He is always prepared. Normally, we are considering India as our enemy at the eastern border. But here I will mention that India is always prepared the conspiracies on our western border as well. Here I will mention the Baloch separatist movement. I was going to support by the Indian. The militants is going to be supported by the Indian in the Ashraf Ghani era and the Hamid Karzai era of the Afghanistan. So one cannot deny the Indian involvement in the Pakistan to the terrorism, that they are going to support it two differently. They are financially supporting it. They are weaponizing the militants. They give them space in the different parts of the world. They're preparing the propaganda against the Pakistan. So one may say that India is a secular state, but one cannot say that if we are going to face the reality. So India is always creating disturbance in Pakistan against the roots of Pakistan, against the stability of Pakistan. Yeah.
Okay. When we say that, of course, it's acting against the stability of Pakistan, do you think that, internationally, of course, we are potentially a volatile region, in the sense that, we are all, both of us, as far as India, Pakistan, we're nuclear states, and of course, to make sure that there is peace is a priority, not just of the region, but overall the powers also, the world also acknowledges as such. Do you think in the face of these recent events, it's going to, perhaps it's a time to agitate on every front when we see this kind of interference coming, trying to sabotage as far as CPEC is concerned, as far as, foreign nationals in Pakistan is concerned? Perhaps it is the time for Pakistan to do that on every front.
Pakistan always offer India for a good relationship, and you know that in the different era of the Pakistan, especially here I will mention the Nawaz Sharif era, they're offering a lot to the India. But on the other hand, you know that the Indians didn't reply on the same way. They prepared the conspiracies, not only through the regional ways, but they always prepared conspiracies and disturbance to the international ways as well. For example, here I will mention a few jihadis who have been killed, and you know that recently BBC and some different other, the Guardian as well, they prepared a report on this, that actually the Indian involvement in the Pakistan, that they are creating disturbance in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, they are creating disturbance in Karachi, they are disturbance in the different parts of the Lahore as well. So the Indian involvement, they didn't reply to Pakistan on the same way as Pakistan did in past or in present. Yeah.
Fair enough. Let me go to General Saab. General Saab, as far as previous attacks and militant activity is concerned, there is the response of Pakistan as far as our agitating what happened as far as Kulbhushan Yadav is concerned. That's a case in point. On the international front, do you think it's of course Lehaz was agreeing, he says that of course we should do this on every front, but do you think it is now time to take it, the dossier is there, and to take it again and to agitate on the kind of interference we are seeing, of course through Afghanistan also, and the hostility that is at play from across the border at this time?
I think that's an ongoing process. And I think even, 2 days back, the President of Pakistan, in his address to the Joint Parliament, he expressed his concerns and he hoped that Pakistan's neighbor would actually do more to make sure that their soil is not used for terrorism against Pakistan. Clearly, he did not name Afghanistan and India, but these are the countries who are using not only their own soil, but also, the soils of other countries, like in the Middle Eastern countries, and even, countries which may be actually very friendly to them. They are using Pakistan's poor people who may be residing, in the Middle East with money to undertake terrorist activities inside Pakistan. So yes, I think these are very, very serious concerns, and I think they need to be continuously pointed out to them, to their leadership at the highest possible level. Also, to the P5 countries at the level of the UN Security Council, in collaboration.
We will be talking about Indian elections after, this also particularly, but the kind of environment that persists in India, the way that Modi has been able to sell his own brand of politics, which is a very, it's a very extremist brand of politics to which his supporters agree. And of course, he has enjoyed a considerable amount of support. In your opinion, as far as the BJP position is concerned, overall, you think that India is changing? You think that it's evolving, or you think that perhaps it's regressing?
I think the BJP in India right now, I think they have no manifesto. They have not actually announced their manifesto. I don't know what is the reason for that. Probably, I think they're overconfident and they think that they do not need any manifesto, or it's quite possible, that they have nothing to promise to the people of India, because whatever deceptions they are giving to their people in terms of, Ram Mandir, and in terms of, sectarian and religious divisions of India. That is all that they are working on. Look at the rate of unemployment in India. It has risen, I think, much more than what the people of India were expecting. It's not only the minorities which are jobless, but even other Hindus, they're jobless, and there is no mention of that in the BJP manifesto. Similarly, I think inflation is at its highest, but that does not find any mention in their manifesto.
Let me come back to you. Let me come back to you. I think I'm going to go to Lehaz and then I'll come back to you. Lehaz, I know you're short of time, but overall, as far as these counter-terrorism operations are concerned, we've had, of course, the Prime Minister and the Chief of Army Staff also directed the military commanders to proactively deny space to terrorists, and of course, he praised the efforts of the armed forces in thwarting these attacks that there are continuously, there's always, some ploy coming from across the border against, to upset the security, which our forces, of course, consistently manage to foil. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari's, of course, stance on terrorism, we've seen also, he has asked about, he says that there should be a tripartite dialogue with neighboring countries to tackle the rising terrorism. Do you think that this kind of dialogue would perhaps be conducive to, of course, we know who the culprit is, but in terms of bringing it home and in terms of ensuring that these efforts take a denting?
Here I will mention a statement of the Chief of Army Staff from last November 2020. That now the Pakistan will only negotiate with the state, not with the organization. Here is the Pakistan having a clear-cut line. They are told that Pakistan will never negotiate with TTP or some other military organization, but Pakistan will negotiate with Afghanistan. And you know that the Pakistan started negotiation with the Afghanistan, but unfortunately that negotiation was not successful and it was not fruitful. So Pakistan always trying, and Pakistan is supporting these militant attacks. But unfortunately, you know that according to the police chief of the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, that they have some silent packets in the different parts of the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan, and they are going to successfully, we can say that they will successfully moving that pace. And you know that just on 26th of the March, they attacked on the Chinese in Bisham area of the Shangla, where the 5 Chinese engineers have been killed. Pakistan has been strongly
Lehaz, I can't...
Afghanistan, that is, the soil of Afghanistan is used in this attack. But Pakistan is still starting, and Pakistan is still offering Afghanistan that we are ready to eliminate these elements. And if you are wanting, so Pakistan will cooperate with Afghanistan to eliminate these type of things. Yeah.
Right, fair enough. Thank you so much, Lehaz. Thank you for your very valuable input. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to go to Dr. Raja Qaiser, who's an IR expert. Dr. Raja Qaiser, we're talking. Can you hear me? Ji, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Ji, Dr. Raja Qaiser Ahmed, we are talking about, Indian elections. We are talking about overall the situation as far as Modi-led India is concerned. First of all, what do you feel as far as the BJP position is concerned overall, and the kind of politics at play in India? What are your thoughts on this as far as overall, the dominance of BJP is concerned? Do you think it has that kind of strong hold, that is overall is over the political landscape, that, regardless of the election outcome, it's at this time looking like, and you think its significance, its influence will remain significant?
Well, thanks, Mahrukh. Am I audible?
Ji, I can hear you.
Yeah. Well, India is through a very strange transition. We have to admit this fact that BJP over the years has entrenched and consolidated its position. The reason for that matter is that BJP feeds on divisive rhetoric. It feeds on communal hatred. It thrives on polarization, which it has precipitated in Indian polity in the past 10 years. Well, this transition is steering India to a very parochial polity. The kind of unprecedented crackdown over minorities, the kind of unsafe India which has emerged in the past 2 decades, it is something which is alarming. It is alarming for the people who believe in liberal values. It is alarming for those people who have always upheld India as an epitome of secular and liberal politics. So BJP has swept across India and has created an environment where Hindu nationalism it primarily permeates into their socio-political landscape, into their institutional landscape, and for that matter, even the pillar of the states, which are judiciary, legislature, and executive. You can see that this sentiment of Hindu nationalism is pervasive and ubiquitous even in all these three pillars of state. Indian statecraft used to be secular, but it is no longer secular. This is the BJP's most impinging reverberation of these 1 decade long rule, that they have colluded with all the institutions of India, and they have created a kind of a steady mindset, which is now taking India to more regressive stride, and India is up to a very strange transition, which is retrograding. I mean, the countries, they are onto progress. They are making avant-garde in their economics, politics, and they are embracing new and new ideas. But strangely, India is onto an otherwise transition. India is more into its history, glorifying its past, more into mythology, and then glorifying it, and then making it unsafe for the diversity which is over there.
But Raja Sahab, the fact that we are looking what's happening as far as Kashmir is concerned, what's happening within India also. We've seen the spillover effect, as far as this treatment that is being meted out to Christians and other minorities are concerned. Not Muslims, not only Muslims, because it was, it started, of course, with the Muslims, but now it's across the board. We've seen that it's like I said, a spillover effect overall. Do you think that kind of, there is now an acknowledgement perhaps, and all over the world of this kind of politics, of the Modi-led politics, and that there are segments within India also, perhaps people who, whose voice is consistently suppressed, the intelligentsia, so to speak, who are also, raising that voice consistently, that this is not the India that they want to see, for example.
Mahrukh, you are absolutely on point. I have to sadly concur to what you have said, because this is sad, because India was not like this previously. To be very pertinent, India is now heading towards, after this inter-identity fissure, now India is heading towards intra-identity fissures. So now you can see even this strife is between different segments of Hindu population as well, that even there are now even more Hindu outfits and zealots which believe that BJP is not going more hard on Muslims and minorities like it should be. So these kind of groups, so particularly in Goa, in Maharashtra, who believe that India should, or BJP should be even more furious and more ferocious on minorities, and particularly Muslims. You talked about Kashmir. You can see what is happening to Sikhs, what is happening to Dalits, what is happening to Christians within India. It's to an alarming level, and you see that it's perhaps it would be the third time that the case for India will be placed to be placed as the country of particular concern for minorities. Americans are bailing them out every time, but the kind of crackdown which is over there, the kind of proto-fascist and an egregious onslaught onto the minorities and then onto the religious freedom and onto the freedom of dissent at large, it is definitely raising the serious eyebrows amongst that community which uphold secular, liberal, and progressive values, which believe in inclusivity, because this world is deeply interconnected. Now you do not live in isolation. You cannot live with the ideals of the 18th century.
I'm going to interject here. Overall, as far as this realization that you're talking about, that yes, this is it's over, as far as you're saying that America continues to bail India out. Do you see that continuing to happen even where the climate overall in the world is building up against this style of politics? Like never before, we are looking at a Middle East, we are looking at the situation overall as far as Russia, Ukraine is concerned. We're also looking at now Palestine and Israel situation. We are also looking at other potential areas of conflict in the world at this time. Do you think that there is that cognizance, perhaps there is that increasing realization even in the US, that this brand of politics that is being perpetrated consistently in India has to stop?
Mahrukh, I believe that previously this was to be considered, or they were seeing it in the matrix of India's domestic politics, and they were not very much concerned except for offering lip services for secularism, progressivism, democratic values. But the kind of hawkish and bullish image India has presented in last year by unleashing these transnational terror squads, the assassination squads. They are killing people in Canada. They are killing people. They are attacking people in the US. They are attacking people inside Pakistan. So all of these things. Please hold.
I'm going to go to General Saab. General Saab, I hope you've been following the discussion so far between what Raja Qaiser Ahmed was saying. He's saying that there are, as I understand, of course, the realization is there, but then it's a question of mutual benefit. It's a question of politics largely when we look at the world, and it's a politics of what suits each country best. It's a politics of convenience. It's a politics of gain. When we talk about political gain for different countries, what their geostrategic position is, what their own incentives are, long term and short term, and that unfortunately prevail a lot of the times over humanitarian goals we've seen. Isn't that correct?
Yes, it is. It is correct, and I think in many countries of the world, unfortunately, democracy means perpetuation of the rule of certain parties, certain rulers, irrespective of whether they are good for those countries, whether they're going to serve their own people or their own societies, or whether they're going to be beneficial for international or regional peace or not. So that is actually the reality. And coming back, to the Indian elections, we are aware, that right now, in the first phase of the election, and that there are going to be 7 phases, and it is going to go till June. 3 chief ministers are in jail on very frivolous charges. The bank funds of the biggest political party, they've been frozen. 600 lawyers have written, to the judiciary, against all these cases. But unfortunately, their judiciary is very compliant, and they are helping the BJP and Modi. They've been helping them in the past also, so that they can win the elections. They are using, the electronic voting machines, which is a good thing, and I wish, we also use these machines in the next elections. But there have been reports in the past that they have been manipulating these machines as well, because the people who were managing these machines, they were appointed by the BJP government, and I think they were challenged also previously. I don't know what is going to happen to that now. In the majority provinces, the big provinces of India like UP, MP, Bihar, Rajasthan and Gujarat, they've all been handed over, to the Sangh Parivar to make sure that sweep all these major provinces. And once that happens, I think Modi's victory will become more certain. And
So, General Saab, you think it suits the West to have a person like Modi there?
Absolutely. Right now he's their darling. Unfortunately, he's doing whatever they're asking him to do. And we know that he's using Modi and the BJP and India for their own greater, geostrategic and geopolitical plans. And the people of India also know about this. But even then, I think they're voting him to power. As I said, because he is appealing to their emotions. He is appealing, to the religious sector. He is appealing, to that their age-old fear of Muslim rules in India. He is appealing to their hatred for all Muslims. He is appealing to their hatred for Pakistan and Kashmiris. So that is actually the most unfortunate thing. Caste census in India has not been held.
Suppression of, there's this crackdown on dissent in India like never before, as far as, of course, the cultural influence also we've seen. There's control of media. We saw it happen in Kashmir. It's also happening in India itself. There is, the voice of dissent, the suppression of it, the right to voice your own opinion, is something that is not, it's not free anymore. It's not freedom anymore. And that kind of change within India is particularly alarming, or should be particularly alarming for all countries.
Absolutely. I think there are, the people of many of these countries, I think rather than the government, they are concerned. And I think the media of most of these countries are also concerned. There are very brave journalists in all these countries, the big countries, who have been speaking against what is happening in India, and the direction in which Modi and BJP is taking India there. But there, I think, far too less. And I think anyone inside India or even outside India who speaks or dares to speak against such policies, they are very conveniently silenced through multiple means. And because, the corporate sector and the corporate bosses, they are part of BJP, and they are supporting them, through their money and all their influences and resources. So I think that is another very big reason why Modi continues to
of India as a market for the world is something that they continue to exploit. So for them, of course, those interests, their own interest and self-interest, is precedent over anything else. And that also is an unfortunate reality. Thank you so much for being with us, Lieutenant General Raza Khan. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your very valuable input today. Lehaz Ali, thank you for your time. Dr.Raja, Qaiser Ahmed, thank you for joining us. As far as the Indian elections are concerned, of course, as far as the Modi-led government has been, and now Modi-led India at this time, perhaps one can't ignore the kind of extremist India and the shape of India, the transformation of India, perhaps, that we've seen consistently under the Modi rule into a more extremist state, into a state that continuously suppresses its minorities, where of course the voice, your right to express your opinion, right to expression also is continually being clobbered. There is a consistent effort by the state to ensure that a certain narrative goes out into the state. There is, the doctoring of narratives, so to speak. India has become, a particular expert of all of that. Let's see as far as what happens in the elections, but at this time it is impossible to ignore the kind of shape, the kind of extremism, the kind of suppression that we are looking at within India also, and the shape that it is taking even as we speak. Thank you so much for joining us today.